Have you ever written out a budget either on a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet, and then when it came time to actually follow that budget throughout the month, you became unwilling and unmotivated to do what you set out to do? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that you can stay on target and on track with your budget throughout the month. Hello, my name is Michael, your host here on MTT Finance, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel as I'm putting out content each week regarding personal finance, budgeting, and growing your wealth. And as I just said, we are going to be going over ways in which you can stay motivated and on target with your budget each and every month, as keeping a budget for a lot of people can be very difficult, and throughout the month you can start to get discouraged if you see yourself sliding away from what you originally planned on your budget. One very important thing to keep in mind with a budget is that it should not feel like you're punishing yourself. It shouldn't feel like you're locking yourself in a straitjacket. In fact, if that's the mindset you have right now, that you're punishing yourself or that you feel so constricted with your budget, that might be a sign that you need to go back and look over and rework your budget. The best thing to do before you even start to write up a monthly budget is to actually have a financial goal that you're working towards. A budget is not an end in itself. It has to be a means to an end. And that end or that goal has to be some financial goal that you have set for yourself and that is meaningful to you. You don't want to have a budget simply for the sake of making you feel like an adult, or this is something that you're supposed to do once you reach a certain age, because that will not keep you motivated to keep your budget throughout the month. It's not strong enough. You need to have something, some type of financial goal that is meaningful to you, that you're passionate about, and that is what's going to keep you on target and on track with your budget. Without having that meaningful goal, you are setting yourself up to fail before you even begin. So be sure before you write up a budget and before we get into these 5 tips that you have a goal, a reason for having a monthly budget. And that can be anything from saving up to vacation, to saving up an emergency fund, for saving up to pay for college, to paying off student loan debts, to saving more money so that you can invest it. Any type of goal works as long as you actually have a goal. Don't just budget for the sake of budgeting. All right, now that we've cleared the air on that topic, let's get into tip number 1 on how you can stay focused and on track with your budget. And this one might seem a little unorthodox and it may not apply to everybody, but a lot of people get discouraged with keeping their budget because they don't even want to have one in the first place. And the word budget is just a bad ring in their ear. They hate to say it. It sounds too financial, it sounds too mathematical, and they really don't like it. And so the solution to that is just to change up what you call it. Call it something else. If you want to, call it your monthly money plan, or your wealth goals, or your kicking debt in the butt plan, or something like that. Call it something that you want to call it that's going to make you motivated about keeping it. No one says that you have to stick to calling it a budget. Call it whatever you want, as long as whatever you call it is something that you like and is something that you're going to be able to stick to. I know that one was kind of simple and easy peasy and nothing huge and earth shattering, but I wanted to start with something that anyone can do and is super simple. Let's move on to tip number 2, and that is to plan your budget in advance. Each month is going to carry with it different expenses that you are going to need to plan for and set up funds to cover. Whether it be weddings or birthdays or anniversaries or holidays, there's going to be many different things that come up each month, and some of them won't be every month. And so it's very important that you set up in advance before the month even starts and cover those events. Plan and schedule those events into your budget. That way, when the time comes, you're well prepared, you have funds set aside for those specific events, and they don't take you off guard. If you plan in advance for all those different types of events that could come up in the month, whether it be with sinking funds or with emergency funds, then they're not going to scare you away and deter you from meeting your financial goals. Tip number 3 to maintaining your budget throughout the month is to base your budget on the actual income you will receive that month. This one can be a little bit difficult, especially if you don't receive a similar paycheck each and every month. If you're someone like me who gets commission-based paychecks each month, then it can be a little bit tricky to decide how much you're actually going to be getting in income that month. Just use your best judgment in determining how much you're actually going to be having in income to use to pay your bills for each month, and then run through two different scenarios. One being you make less money than what you think you will, and one being that you make more money than what you think you will. The reason why it's important to plan for both of these scenarios is that if we take the first situation, say you make less money than you thought you would have that month. If you're able to run the numbers and you're still able to cover the bills, even if you were to make a little bit less, then when the time comes, and let's say you do actually make less that month than you thought you were going to, it doesn't take you off guard. You're still able to cover all the necessary bills. Maybe you have to cut back on some of your other unnecessary spending that month, but at least it's not going to scare you and make you, go overboard and panic and throw away your budget because you're afraid that you're not going to be able to cover things. You know that in the worst case scenario, you're still able to cover all your expenses. And then the second situation, which is you should plan in case you make more money that month. Say, it's tax season right now and you get a tax return or another stimulus check, or you get a bonus or raise at work. The best thing you can do is prepare yourself to not give in to lifestyle inflation, which is where you make more money and so you think you need to spend more money. What you need to do is in your budget, plan in case you do make extra money and set up places in your budget where that extra money can go. Not just using it for random spending or thinking that you have some extra cushion in your budget. Tell that money where to go and what you want it to do so that it doesn't just creep down and sink through your fingers, and then the end of the month comes and you're like, hey, where's that extra money I got? Oh yeah, that's right, I spent it on things that I didn't budget for. By running these two scenarios through your budget is going to be more robust and easier to stay intact with, as it won't matter what life throws at it, whether it's an unexpected expense or it's receiving less pay or more pay. You are going to be better prepared for it, and you won't give into the temptations to ditch your budget when things don't go the way you thought they would have. Tip number 4 to staying on track with your budget and maintaining it throughout the month is to track your expenses as the month goes on and make quick corrections as needed. There's many different ways in which you can do this, whether you use a physical journal like paper and pen, or you use some app you find, or you can use an Excel spreadsheet. But especially if you're new to budgeting or you have a habit to just throw away your budget as the month goes on, it's best to perform this method where you track each and every expense. That way you can physically see where your money is going and how much you're spending it. As you go on and maintain a budget, it will be easier for you to mentally understand how much money you're spending, and you probably won't have to do this with as much intentionality as you keep up your budget and as you maintain it month after month and year after year. But when you first get started, it's probably best to look at each and every expense that you're making. Every time money leaves your hand, you need to track it. And that way you'll better stay on track with that end goal, that end monthly number that you have to meet for your budget. Another thing that tracking your budget either weekly or on a day-to-day basis or every other day gives you the ability to do is to make quick changes as necessary. If you wait all the way to the end of the month and then you realize that something was wrong, that there was an expense that you didn't know about and you needed to put more money towards that expense and pull away from another expense, if you wait till the very end of the month and you realize that, well, then you're going to be in a totally different situation than if you saw that coming, if you looked at your budget on a weekly basis and you could make that quick correction, which would save you some heartache and some worry later on, which then is going to make you want to throw away your budget if it doesn't work out for you. Keep track of your budget either daily or weekly, maintain a spending journal, and make quick corrections as you go throughout the month. Don't wait to the very end of the month to start seeing and making adjustments. Before we get into the last tip, tip number 5, I'll just throw a quick shout out there that if you haven't liked the video already, if you're getting value from it, be sure to give it a thumbs up And if you would like to subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and share this video if someone in your life could really use the encouragement with maintaining their budget. As I know for myself, it's difficult. For a lot of people, it's difficult to stay within their budget bumpers. And so if you have someone that you know that could really, find value in a video like this, be sure to share this video with them. All right, moving on to the final tip of today's video, and that is tip number 5, which is to, at the end of the month, review your budget. Look at what worked, what didn't work, and what you need to change moving forward. In the beginning, when you first start making a budget and trying to maintain it throughout a month, it's gonna be a super rocky process and hard to keep up with. In fact, they usually say that when you first start, you're gonna find yourself needing to make emergency meetings with yourself because, oh my word, I didn't budget for this correctly, or I made the wrong estimate on this expense. I thought it was gonna be way less and it was way more. It's gonna be rocky at first. And so each month, the best thing to do at the end of it, review and look over all your expenses and what worked and what didn't work and what you're going to change and improve for the next month. Budgeting is not about perfection. It's about improving and moving forward once again to our goals. We're not just budgeting for the sake of looking like adults. We're budgeting to show that we want to pursue and achieve and find success in the goals that we plan for ourselves. So at the end of each month, take 10 to 15 minutes just to look over and review your budget. I'm sure that you will find things that you can improve and things that worked for you. And that way, as you move on and as you become better at personal finance, you will always be moving forward and always succeeding with maintaining this budget. It's not that hard, but it can be very difficult at times to maintain a monthly budget, especially as we are prone to give in to the temptations that our society puts out to us with little red flags telling us to spend more and buy things that we don't really need. One of the big takeaways that I've learned from reading Dave Ramsey's books and listening sometimes to his podcast and radio show, and that is personal finance is 20% facts or head knowledge, and the other 80% is our behavior, how we act upon what is put in front of us. And so a lot of times it can be very easy to give into different temptations. And budgeting is just a way to constantly remind ourselves that we need to control our behavior when it comes to money. We need to be able to look at money, look at our expenses, look at our income, and look at what we need to spend money on to survive and best manage that so that our households or ourselves, that we can thrive and meet our goals. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video and sticking around until the very end. Like I said before, if you know someone who could really find value in content like this and really maybe struggling with their budget, be sure to share this video with them so that they can watch it and take away some value and hopefully encourage them and inspire them to better maintain and stay on target with their budget. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and stay safe.